speaker. And so I'm going to give a little bit of her background real quick, and then I'll just share a little bit from my heart because I love her dearly. Keara Miller, which is so fun, but I know her as Keara Napoli, but excited for her new fun name. So Keara Miller, originally from Sunrise, Florida, moved to Georgia in 2006. At the age of 7, she found a love for softball. She began at coach pitch at her local park, and within a few years, she knew she wanted to be a pitcher in fast pitch. At 10 years, she tried out for the Atlanta Vipers, where she played for Dickie Valerie. So we love our Coach Valerie. At the age, and played with him from the age of 10 to 18. About a year after playing for the Vipers, she was sent to Stacy Tambora. She got to play with me. So she was sent to me for pitching development, and the rest is history. I loved her. I loved working with Keara. She's one of the most feisty, passionate players that I ever got to work with. Keara committed to play at University of Georgia in 2014. Her first season began in the fall of 2017, but after a year and a half, she realized this was not the home for her. In 2018, she transferred to Virginia Tech to complete her softball career and her major in marketing. She met her husband, Billy, in her junior year, and after graduating in 2021, she moved back to Georgia. During high school, she was actively involved in fundraising for childhood cancer awareness and interned with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Her passion for teamwork, coaching, and volunteerism grew over the years. Keara began her first job at a military nonprofit, where after 3 years, she recognized the growing need for support of individuals in various situations. This led to the creation of Bravery Bridge, an initiative aimed at connecting businesses and nonprofits to help them achieve their missions while supporting each other. Keara now lives in Alpharetta, Georgia with Billy, her husband, and her dog. Is it Mater?
Mater, yeah.
Mater, that's awesome. So near and dear to my heart, and especially, come on up here, Keara. Especially with our theme of the year with Choose Hard, I could not think of anybody more perfectly fit for this than Keara. I mean, as you see her, she's like CrossFit, awesome, like nothing. Choose Hard is very much Keara on every level and everything she does. And Keara was just one of the most passionate pitchers that I ever worked with. I mean, how many times it was like, what more can I do? How much harder can I push? But yet such a kind and sweet soul, like just the best role model my children could ever have. And so I am super thankful to have her here. She was the first person, as we talked about Choose Hard, I was like, I'm gonna call Keara. I cannot wait to have her here, and she didn't even hesitate. She's like, absolutely, I would love to, and I am just super honored, and there's so many goosebump moments tonight for me, but this might be the biggest. So.
Hi everyone, I just really want to thank Stace for calling me to ask me to speak tonight. The second that she did, I immediately ran over to my parents and I told them, I said, you won't believe what she asked me to do. I'm unbelievably honored because when I was 10, I sat in this very room that you girls are sitting in, and I looked up to all of these amazing older girls, and it's truly just inspiration. And I hope you girls know that seeing you inspires me. And even though I'm older and my time has passed with softball, I am so excited to look at the future generation of softball players, and I can't wait to see everything that you're going to do, not just in softball, but in the real world as well. So I just wanted to start off with introducing myself a little bit. I'm Keara. As Stacey already mentioned, I was born in Florida and lived there until I was about 7 years old. My parents, Carrie and Joe, were Florida Gators, and grew up a Florida fan, and I have a beautiful sister, Gabrielle, who's a few years younger than me. We moved to Georgia when I was 7, and when I was playing, just before we moved, I started with soccer, just something active that is running, that get the kids tired, just to give my parents some peace. But I always wanted to use my hands. I wanted to touch the ball, and you can't do that in soccer. So my parents put me in softball, and I did one season in Florida, and as soon as we moved, I knew it was something I had to continue. So I started playing coach pitch, just at our local park at North Park, and fell in love with it. It was so much fun, loved playing in the dirt, and even in coach pitch, I wanted to play the position of pitcher. And I just found a complete love for being the one out there that's controlling the game and kind of getting to be a leader on the field is what I always wanted to do. So I decided to take up pitching and did fast pitch for about a year and a half at my local park with a travel ball team called Alfred Attack. It's a B-level team that I got started with. And after about a year and a half, I was told by my coach that I threw too many strikes and that I would never make it as a pitcher. Didn't really make sense to me, so I decided to head out and maybe try something a little bit more advanced. So I tried out for the Atlanta Vipers in second year 10s, and it was for Dickie Valerie, and I happened to make the team, and I was unbelievably thrilled. And one season went by, and I just felt that my pitching was kind of stagnant, and I wasn't growing to who I felt that I could be. So he was the one who actually encouraged me to go see Stacy. And when I first got there, I was just so excited to meet this new pitching coach. I didn't know how it was going to go. And she just took one look at me, watched a few pitches, and she goes, I can have you throwing 8 miles an hour faster in 6 months. And I looked at her like she was nuts. I'm like, no way. That's crazy talk. I've been stuck at the same speed for over a year. That's not going to happen. And that was when she brought out the box, which if any pitchers in here have pitched with Stacy, I call it the box of shame. And your front foot's in there, and you can't turn it, it forces you to push out straight. And I hated that thing so much, and so much that my dad built one for me, and we brought it to us at every tournament, and I dreaded it. But then I came back 3 months later, throwing 8 miles an hour faster. So to this day, I've never once again questioned anything that Stacy was doing. And I had to, while I was up here, even though he's not here tonight, I had to throw out a little shout out to Dickie Valerie and a little funny story I have with him. We were in 12 and under, and it was the bottom of the 7th inning, and we were playing the Georgia Impact, who I did not like. And we were tied game, we had a runner on third, 2 outs, we were playing on the field, and everyone knows with 2 outs, where do you go? Where do you throw the ball? Anybody?
First base.
First base, thank you very much. So you definitely don't do a tag play when there's 2 outs, but we decided for some reason with the bunt to go throw the ball to home. Unfortunately, our catcher missed the tag, lost the game, and Dickie got so mad that he ripped his shirt down in half, down the middle of the field. And the bungee at the bottom, if any of our coaches were pullovers, I'm assuming some of you do, he could not get that bungee to rip open, so he had to lift off his ripped shirt over his head, and we're just these 11-year-old girls on the field. What is up with this guy? And I will say that the Impact took his torn off shirt and carried it around on a stick for the rest of the weekend. And oh yeah, that's a real story. And I will never forget that at the end of that day, I walked up to Coach Dickey. He reminded me of the story actually at my wedding. I just went up to him and I said, "Do you need a hug?" And ever since then, I just knew he was going to be the coach for me. So, anyways, I just had thrown some fun stories. I think that's what makes this organization so special. So I continued all the way through, continued playing with the Vipers, and it was at Stacy's Showcase Tournament in the fall that I was offered my first full-ride scholarship to the University of Georgia. I was 14 years old. It was in my freshman year. And then a week later, I was offered my next scholarship from Georgia Tech. And then a few months after that, University of South Carolina. I had the privilege of visiting all of them, and I decided on the University of Georgia, which my Florida Gator parents were so thrilled about. But I just fell in love with the school. I was very excited to go. Then I played at Cambridge High School. I know we have some Cambridge High School people here, which is really cool. Played there for 4 years. We won state my senior year. Go Bears. And then that year I was also gifted with Gatorade Player of the Year. To this day, it's one of my proudest accomplishments. So, long story short, I was so ready going into college. I felt like I was at my most prepared I had ever been. I felt I was so ready to just dominate in college. I couldn't wait to be at UGA. And then all of a sudden, when I got there, I just thought, everything I've worked for is all going to come true. I'm gonna have the success that I want. I'm gonna have the awards that I want. I'm gonna get to play on TV. And then, unfortunately, some things happened. So, coaching changes and mechanic changes severely happened to impact my pitching. Suddenly, I went from someone who was having no problem throwing in the 60s to someone who couldn't even crack 54 miles an hour within a year. I was unbelievably stuck. I was frustrated. I was lost and I didn't know what was next. And after several visits, after several consideration, I decided that I think it's time for me to transfer. So I went to several locations, and something about Virginia Tech just made me fall in love with it. I fell in love with the campus. I fell in love with the culture, and I just felt that, I think it's my time. I just think I may need to head somewhere else. Then, as I thought everything was calling me home, this makes sense. That gut feeling that God's giving me, I'm supposed to be here to have the success that I finally worked for my entire life. But then, despite a lot of hard work and hours, my pitching just could not get back to where it was. And again, I was stuck. For the first time in my life, I didn't have just a simple block in my road. I had a mountain, and I had no idea how to climb it. It was time for me to reflect back on all of the lessons that the sport had taught me, and I wanted to apply them all. I just want you to know that you're all going to face obstacles in your life, but choosing to fight through the hard will make you a better athlete, a better person, and it's going to equip you for everything that you're going to face in your life. So today, I'm here to share with you guys some of the lessons that I wish that somebody told me when I was your age. Because my lucky number is 7, I thought that I would give you guys 7 lessons to walk away with. Lesson number 1, practice and work hard in the quiet, but also make sure you have fun in the big moments. Champions are developed behind the scenes. It's the days when you don't want to go, you don't want to wake up early, you don't feel like working out. Those are the days that are making the big moments. Practicing all of those little things in that time is what allows you to shut your brain off when it's time to compete. Because your body knows what it's doing, your body's prepared, your mind is ready, so when you're out there, you can just compete to the best of your ability. You're going to be able to trust yourself because your mechanics are ready to go, and you don't have to think about them in the middle of the game. And I want you to remember that's the days that you aren't feeling it that separate a good athlete from a great athlete. Effort is something that is what you can control. Motivation will not be 100%, but you can always give the best effort that you have that day. I'll never forget that after I committed and I verbaled my freshman year, I got a little bit lazy and I didn't want to practice all the time. My dad was having to drag me out, and finally he came to me and said, I am not going to catch you unless you ask me. And I was like, okay. About 3 weeks of that, and the worst tournament of my life of barely practicing was all that it took. And from that day on, I was always the one to ask my dad to catch me because I had to take that initiative. And to this day, it's one of the best lessons that I've ever learned. And I hope you guys know that when all of the work is put in, it's going to make competing better. Nerves are good. You're always going to have them. It's because you care. But it's very important that when you're in those bases loaded innings, you're the last one up to bat, and the team's counting on you. That's what makes you an athlete, and those are the moments that we all fight for every day in practice, and it gets you ready to compete. Lesson number 2, ask questions and never be afraid to embrace change. Anyone who knows me knows I talk a lot, and I like to ask questions. I was definitely that annoying child who liked to push my coach's buttons, because sometimes I just ask unnecessary questions. But in my opinion, I don't think any question is wrong. I think we like to do things that our coaches tell us to do because we trust them as our leaders, but it's important as an athlete to understand why you're doing them. It makes you better, and it makes you be able to apply them more when you're at home. As you continue growing, it's very important to know that the sport's going to grow as well. We've seen a lot of changes in technologies, we've seen a lot of changes in environment, and I hope you guys know that as an athlete, it's up to you to adapt. So you're going to have those crappy fields. I know every pitcher in here has dealt with a really, really frustrating umpire who just won't give you that corner. And I know everyone's going to have someone loud in the crowd. There's always going to be that parent in the crowd that is just driving you nuts. But those are the things that are going to make you great. So when you have the bad weather, bad fields, Stuff that you don't like, just learn to adapt. Lesson number 3, and one that I definitely had to learn for myself, is to be confident but not cocky. Yes, we love to win, and we love to get all of the starts, but I think we all know that when you see the person who just likes to only brag and talk about themselves, we know how that person makes us feel. My young self liked to do that a lot, but I would look back now and I realized that all of my favorite athletes are my favorite athletes for a reason, because they're humble, but they're very confident in who they are. They have a quiet confidence because they know their capabilities, and they know in their head how good they are, but they prove it by doing it. I just want you to think about all your teammates around you and always wanting to support them and love on them, being proud of yourself, but doing it to yourself is the most important. Humility is going to take you very, very far, because at the end of the day, you guys play team sport, and you guys want to support each other. It's all about how you can get 1% better every day. Because at the end of the day, you're competing against yourself. And I've learned that. I like to compare myself a lot to people, but the only thing you can do is make the best version of yourself possible, because we're all completely unique and completely different. Lesson number 4 is you are never too good to have bad days. And I'll never forget, the best example I can think of this was every pitcher dreaded who went to Stacy the week after Thanksgiving, because it was the day she was going to work our butts off from all the food that we ate. And after going through so many squatting drills, so much with the band, so much weighted ball, at the very end she said, okay, you have to get 3 strikeouts. Like, oh, that's easy. I can do that, no problem. But if the catcher moves their glove, it's a ball. And if you throw it down the middle, it's a walk. And I was like, okay, that's going to be really, really hard. And I'm talking, that's a ball. I walked 6 people that day, and she said that every person you walk is 25 burpees. So I do 150 burpees at the end of my pitching lesson, and I did every single one, and she watched me do every single one, and it was the most frustrating and annoying lesson of my life, but I still remember it because it made me so unbelievably tough. And this is something that still applies to me today as I'm competing in CrossFit. You have a lot of days where the weight just feels really light. I feel like I can lift a house, and then there's days the barbell feels like it weighs 1,000,000 pounds, but it's all part of the process. Sometimes our minds aren't going to be in it, sometimes our bodies aren't going to be in it, but know that it's something that's completely normal. It doesn't mean something is wrong with you or that your development stopped. It just means that it's another opportunity to grow, to rewire your brain, and to see that there's a chance to improve. Lesson number 5, be a good teammate. I'm sure that all of you guys, is everyone in here friends with your teammates, if I had to guess? Yeah, raise your hand if you are. You like your teammates a lot? I hope so. Perfect. We love our friends, and we want our friends to accomplish everything that they set their minds to. Your goal should be to be your friend's number 1 cheerleader if she's maybe in the position that you want to be in one day. Yes, and as you guys go into college, and as you guys are playing on a travel team, there's going to be times that you have to fight for your position, and you have to fight in your sport. It's very normal, it's all part of the process. But you never ever want to fight for that spot by wishing for someone else's failure. It is not good for your mindset, and it is not what you would wish that they were doing for you if you're in that position. I've been on both ends of that before, where I was the person wishing for failure, and it did not make me a better pitcher. It made me very negative, and it actually really harmed my pitching. I should be my teammate's number 1 fan, because I don't want to have to pitch every game. I want her to be out there supporting her in the way that she needs, and offering extra help and be there when she's having bad days, because I would hope that she would do the same for me. And I think it's very important that you guys do with each other, because outside of you being teammates, you guys are friends and you guys are sisters. And that's the most important thing. Lesson 6, which I think is the most important, is to stay healthy, mentally, physically, socially, and spiritually. So number 1 is work out your body. It's important outside of softball, you take care of yourself. Don't be scared to lift weights. Lifting weights is super cool. I think it makes us awesome, and I think girls who lift weights are super cool. Make sure you eat well, and make sure you eat enough. You guys are athletes, you need the fuel, you need the food, make sure you eat, okay? It's very, very, very important. I know our society likes to tell us not to do that as girls sometimes. You need the food. It's really good for you, I promise you. Stretch and do your mobility. I still do that all the time. I still struggle with that one, but I'm working on it. But yes, make sure you're doing that, and I sing as well. Don't be afraid to ask for any help when your mind's not in it. When I was going through some hard times at college, never once have I speak to a professional when it came to my mental health, but I really needed it. And I thought that doing that would make me weak. That would make me not tough anymore because I needed to tell somebody I'm not okay. I'm not tough in my mind right now. I'm not competitive in my mind right now. I don't know what's wrong with me. Know that that's completely normal, that the best of the best athletes all still do it. They all still see coaches for mental health. Make sure you do that. Asking for advice is a really good thing. Socially, make sure that you're finding people outside of softball. This is something that I learned in college. I love all of my teammates so dearly, but I do think it's very, very beneficial to find people in other areas of your life as well. Whether that's a club or an organization, getting involved in something that's not softball, I think is very good for you in the long run. It teaches you different lessons, and it allows you to relate to people in ways that you didn't think possible. One of the biggest ones that I learned is to limit social media. So you guys are coming up in an age where social media is very, very, very prevalent, and it's a great thing. Social media can be used as a great tool. You guys are doing amazing things. You should be sharing that with the world. I think you guys are going to inspire so many people, but make sure you are not comparing yourself to others online, whether that is what they look like or what they're doing. I will never forget my freshman year of college. I was at probably the lowest point in my life. I was really, really depressed. Did not want to go out of bed unless I had to for softball or for training. And I was scrolling through and I saw my friend Abigail at Auburn. She was in her sorority, having the time of her life. She just looked so happy. And I remember thinking, everyone seems so happy except for me. Why am I not enjoying life? And I came home to find out. I run into her parents and I said, how's Abigail doing? She looks like she's having so much fun. And they were the ones who told me, oh no, she is miserable. She's leaving Auburn so soon and she's going to go to Colorado. She wants to be in the mountains. And it was just very eye-opening for me that, oh my gosh, this is not the full truth of what you see online. And it's very easy to get caught up in that. Know that everybody's having struggles, especially physically. You girls are athletes, you've got athletic bodies, and it's an awesome, awesome thing. And don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. That's all right if you're going to have muscles, you're going to be taller. It makes you strong, it makes you powerful, and it makes you especially beautiful. Spiritually, which I believe is the most important, I was once told that we live in a society that treats our body first, then we treat our soul second, and then our spirit last. I recently learned that we really should be treating our spirit first, because when you are spirit-filled, you are filled in life. It allows you to see that there's a much greater purpose than maybe what you're going through in the moment, and it's going to open your eyes to a much bigger plan that God has in store for you. And the final lesson is your identity is not in what you do, it is who you are. You guys are not softball, you play softball. Your identity is exactly in who God made you to be. You're going to have struggles, but that's all part of your story. It's what makes you so incredible. You're going to do amazing things outside of your sport, and in all of those things, you're going to experience hard times. There may be a job you miss out on, a test you studied so hard for that you didn't get the grade you want, a big game that doesn't go your way, physical injuries that are going to take time to heal, or emotional heartbreak in relationships. However, I don't want this to scare you. I wanted to excite you. And I wanted to give you one example by finishing the end of my story. When softball didn't work out at Virginia Tech, I wondered why I was so drawn there. Because my heart really was set going there, but clearly it wasn't for softball and success on the field. It was just before my senior year when a friend reached out to me to become an FCA leader. And I instinctually remember saying, yeah, I think I need to do this, I need to get more involved. Became an FCA leader and I led a Bible study with my team. I was able to lead my team off the field by being their biggest cheerleader and support system when they needed it most. And I remember on my senior day, I was the only senior because of COVID year. Everyone decided to take their extra year. I didn't really expect anything. I wasn't starting. I just thought there'd be a congrats, Keara, we love you. And I showed up to our locker room, and my team had decked out the entire locker room. I was crying instantly, and I just realized in that moment that God was showing me that you are loved, not for your success on the field, you're loved for who I made you to be. And to this day, it's something I always remember. The other reason I ended up there is halfway through my junior year, I met that guy right there, a wrestler from Ohio who also happened to be a transfer. And 3 years later, he would ask me to marry him. And now I'm living with him in Georgia and our dog Mater. And just so everyone knows, I always struggled with my muscles, and I always wondered, oh, guys are just gonna think I'm the big girl, the friend, and this guy loves my muscles so much that he calls me his big woman. I don't know why that one made me tear up, but yeah. So know that strong is awesome, and it's beautiful. Now I'm competing in competitive CrossFit, where I've had the joy the past 3 years of competing in semifinals, and I hope to make the CrossFit Games one day. And I am now a co-founder for a for-profit called Bravery Bridge, where we help raise donations for multiple nonprofits. So yes, my story had many hard times, but they brought out a side of me that I never thought possible. They prepared me for everything in my life. Softball's a wonderful sport. It brought me so much joy. And I'm here to tell you that all of the hit-by pitches, the last-inning losses, the early and cold mornings, the long car rides, the cut-up legs from diving and sliding, and the missed dances and birthday parties are all worth it. From this sport, I have lifelong mentors, friends, and coaches. I have a drive to accomplish anything I set my mind to. I have a work ethic to prove anyone who doubts me wrong. I have a happiness that allows me to compete, but also have fun during the process. And I have a love for the fight and the battle, because it makes me a warrior, and it's going to make you one too. Thank you guys so much.